Today, we're talking about financial strategies for health professionals, how you can maximize profit and minimize your cost. And this webinar is one of the most heavily attended webinars that we've done. I'm pretty excited about it. So I'm going to share with you some strategies that I've learned over 30 years of practice, most of it in private practice, but I did have the benefit of doing locums, which is taking over for other doctors for about a 4-year period. I worked in over 80 clinics. So I also saw other doctors' operations, the good and the bad. And I have that well-rounded perspective, not only from my own personal experience, but the other clinics that I worked for early in my career and when I moved from one province to another province, which is like moving from one state to another state. So welcome, and we need to talk about money because a lot of health professionals don't have a good handle on money. They make a lot of money, but they blow it too. And they're not taught in school how to manage their money. They're experts at seeing patients. They're very good at that. It's a wonderful profession. When you're a doctor or therapist, you can help a lot of people. But often doctors and therapists get themselves in trouble because they get taken advantage of from whether it's real estate agents, maybe I shouldn't say real estate agents, but different salespeople, let's say that, insurance, stockbrokers, all sorts of different other people that want to get a doctor or therapist as a client. And then they some of them are, unscrupulous. They manipulate doctors and therapists, and doctors and therapists are kind of caught off guard. And that was one thing that I found very interesting early in my careers. I went to work for these very successful clinics. The doctors were excellent doctors, but then their home life was just a mess. Like the way they handled finances. Some of them had gone broke. Some of them were stressed out. And I was like, what's going on here? Like, I thought if they were good at being a doctor, they'd probably be good at everything else. But I was like, wow, there's obviously some area for improvement here. And I wanted to learn as much as I could from these doctors on what to do or what not to do. So I'm going to share some of that with you today. So I'm a chiropractor. I am a clinic owner. I'm a health coach. I've been helping patients with their health and wellness and their lifestyle. I'm an investor. I've purchased real estate over the years, invested in stocks myself. I've done all of that. And rather than giving it to someone, which I did early in my career, I wanted to learn as much as I could to kind of be in charge of my own destiny, So I think that's important too, is it may not be your forte. You might not want to know everything about it. And you might want to delegate these tasks, and that's okay too, as long as you're getting the results you're looking for. And I don't want you to get taken advantage of and go through hardship. So what I want to do today is empower health professionals to take control of their finances, free you up to focus on patient care, which you do best, and run a really good operation, pay down your debt, and start investing in the future. We're not taught this stuff in school, but we can learn this together. Finances feel messy in healthcare because sometimes there's irregular income. Now, some of you might work for maybe a hospital or a healthcare provider. Maybe you have a regular salary, but a lot of you out there, it depends on your billings, depends on the number of patients you're seeing. It depends on the what you charge. It depends on any additional services you offer. So we want to talk about that today. Also, the overhead can get pretty high in a medical clinic. So we want to make sure we keep an eye on the overhead, and we'll talk about that, and the staff costs too. And over the years in my career, that's something that's really gone up, is the staff costs. I think right now, the wages are higher proportionately than they've ever been. And it's harder to find good people. So that's something we do want to talk about today. Now, revenue streams. They can be from billings, product sales, and even consulting. And I like how doctors and therapists are diversifying these days. So, even me, like doing some health coaching, these webinars, they're good ways to get the word out, get another revenue stream going, and give you some flexibility. Maybe you don't want to physically be in your practice 40 hours a week. Maybe you want to do some consulting. Maybe you want to share your knowledge like me down the road with other health professionals. So there's going to be opportunities for you to get other revenue streams going. Maybe you want to invest in some real estate, have some rentals. That's another revenue stream and a good equity builder. So these are good ways for us to diversify. So now for budgeting, let's use a zero-based approach. So the principle is don't hope for a surplus, assign every dollar a job. So basically, you want to look at what you're spending. I like to use a 3-month average. And then you want to say, is the money I'm spending, is that producing a good result? And a good result could be, is it producing higher revenues? Is it leading to less stress for you, freeing you up more? Better quality of life, better clinic experience. So it has to be serving a purpose. And if it's not, you should be cutting out some of those subscriptions and fees that you don't need. Categories could be rent, staff, taxes you're paying or savings, investments, or even some of the things you're doing personally. So you want to take a look at those categories and say, is this working for you? Benefits. You want clarity, control, reduce stress. Basically, you want to have a good grip on your practice, your finances, both business and personal, like you do with your patient care. Look at it like that, where you want to learn, you have to study and learn, and then you want to do a really good job applying yourself. I remember once I got audited by Revenue Canada. I'm up in Canada, be like the IRS in the States. And we just moved, and I claimed moving expenses, which I was entitled to do, but it really brought my tax payment down for that year. And I think it was a couple of years later, Revenue Canada wanted to go over my income and expenses. Basically, they were looking to recapture some of the expenses that they thought were discretionary. And that was pretty stressful for me. I had to provide all these receipts. I've never had been audited before. It went on for quite some time. It was a distraction from the clinic, so that's the other thing too. I think I would have done it differently now. I would have probably organized my receipts better and then just dropped them off, and then answered their questions and then accepted the outcome. I think I would have done it that way. But at the end of the audit process, the agent said, well, you know what, we're done now. Here's a bit of a tax bill for you. And you learned something. And now you can apply that going forward, what you learned. And I thought that was interesting. I remember him saying that. And I thought, yeah, good approach. I'm going to apply what I've learned going forward. I've never been audited since. And that happened once in my career. It was about 15 years ago. Now you want to crush debt. There's two methods to crush debt. One is the snowball method. The other is the avalanche method. So for the snowball versus the avalanche method, one is working on small balances first. So maybe you want to just pay off the small balances, give yourself a little bit of momentum, kind of like a snowball that's growing. And you want to get rid of those, reduce the list. You'll still have some larger debts to pay off, interest payments. Maybe you want to consolidate some of those debts, go to the bank and say, hey, things are going pretty well for me, better year this year than last year. And can you give me a better interest rate for some of these high interest debts? So there's ways to consolidate and refinance. Want to be careful. Sometimes there's fees associated with that. You don't want to get into something where you're not sure of what's going on. And sometimes financial institutions, they don't disclose all of their fees. So it's good to ask a lot of questions. Take your time, be patient, but keep the process moving. Don't procrastinate. The other way is the avalanche method, which is you want to pay the highest interest rate debts first, get them down, minimizing the total interest you're paying, And eventually you're going to pay off all those debts, each one slowly. So you can put together a 12-month budget for yourself, and then you can start to focus on those things. We're going to have a mastermind group this month. So if you want to share some of your numbers or some of your questions, the mastermind group on a weekly basis will meet, and we'll have about an hour for you guys to ask me some questions. I'd be happy to give you some feedback. You can email me your spreadsheet using your 12-month numbers, and I'd be happy to talk to you about getting that debt down. Consistency is better than perfection. So you want to be consistent. You don't want to be perfect. You're going to make some mistakes, and that's okay because you're going to learn from those mistakes. Now, you also want to be tax savvy, and talking to an accountant, somebody like a financial advisor, good idea. Be wary of the fees again, be careful with that. And you want to save for retirement. You're going to get a tax break when you're contributing to a registered investment plan, like an RRSP or an IRA in the US. So you want to do that. That's going to bring your taxes down that you pay, but it gets locked in. If you ever go to take it out, it's going to be like income coming out. So you get the benefit of the tax break, but later on, you're going to get taxed on that money. You could use a TFSA, which is a tax-free savings account, where you're not taxed on capital gains. You don't get the capital loss in that either if you lose money on investments. But it is a good way to grow over time, especially if you're more conservative. It's a good way to grow your portfolio and not get taxed on it. So I would maximize your TFSA if you can. And you can see long-term, I'm sure you've seen how those graphs of the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ have just grown and grown and grown over time. Especially if you're reinvesting your dividends, you're going to get a bit of a compounding rate of return over time. That's probably a topic for another webinar, but definitely want to be slow and steady, and regular contributions on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, very important to grow your portfolio. Even if it's starting with $100 a week, really good way to start. At the end of the year, that's $5,000. Do that again the following year. It's not 5,000 plus 5,000. It's now 5,000 plus 10%, let's say, and with the dividends reinvested. And now you have 5,500 that first year, and now you add 5,000. The same thing happens. There's a compounding effect. If you do use your RRSPs or your investment into your your registered account or your IRA, use that money that you would have paid in taxes to invest in your future. Pay down your debts, then start to save for your future, especially a down payment on a home or real estate. Really good idea. Now, I'm married to a realtor and a home builder. I've seen firsthand over the years how real estate has grown, especially in my area. So if you're in a higher growth area, that's great. Even if you're not, slow and steady is fine. Usually real estate is a very good investment. You're going to build equity over time. Your mortgage is going to stay the same. And over time, especially with inflation, the mortgage amount gets cheaper and cheaper, relatively speaking. So you want to diversify your portfolio. I would say stocks, bonds, index funds. Again, be wary of the fees associated with these. Real estate and renters. If you just want to buy your first home, get a rental suite in it. See if you can do an Airbnb or VRBO, or just do monthly rental out of the build a little carriage house or an apartment kind of above the garage, let's say, and that's going to really help to bring in some extra income for you. For models, I would do a 60-40 balanced model or an 80-20. If you're younger and more aggressive, I encourage my kids to be a little more aggressive, because even if you mess up when you're younger, it's fine. You'll regroup and you'll move on. It's a little more risky as you get older, but You could talk to a professional about this and just see what the right mix would be for you. Careful with some of the stocks that maybe they have been encouraged to promote to you. I find sometimes with stockbrokers, they are encouraging certain stocks because there may be some benefit to them. So just be wary of that. You want to safeguard your financial foundation. Some coverages you need are malpractice, of course, equipment and property, disability income, and you want some insurance for your business as well as your home. Make sure you're insured. You don't have to be overinsured. Just make sure you're insured so that if there is a loss, you can recover from that. So if there's a fire in your clinic, an injury, you're skiing and you break your arm and you can't practice, or a lawsuit, you need the right help to deal with that. All very important. So the other thing I want to talk to you about is unlocking new income channels. So you're used to seeing patients in the clinic, but there's ways to make your patient flow better. So efficiencies, delegating tasks to staff, training staff, bringing in products as another revenue stream, doing some consulting, or helping some other doctors and therapists. Really good ways to grow your revenue streams. You could also write some books. I've written a few books, one on practice management, other ones on my area of expertise. You can write books and you can get revenue from that. It also establishes you as more of an authority, which is really good for credibility. You want to check your investments and make sure that you're getting good returns, make some adjustments if necessary. On a quarterly basis, good idea, maybe a monthly basis. I wouldn't be looking at your portfolio every minute or every day. It might be too much. You don't want to get it distracted from your practice and what you do best, but I would keep an eye on it and don't just forget about it. And then real estate development and rentals. If you can buy some property and build something, if you know a builder, there's a credible builder in your area, it's always best to buy some land and build something on it. We've bought properties and torn them down and built. We've renovated property. I bought clinic property, all really good ideas, but there's some lessons there too. We've made a few mistakes, but over time, you just get better and better at it. So many health professionals have untapped revenue. It's just sitting in their heads, their experiences, their knowledge that other people would pay for. So quick wins for revenue growth for you could be a premium service you offer in your clinic. You can do reactivation emails to increase your number of services in the clinic. You could offer some low-cost consulting, whether it's health coaching or to other professionals, B2B or B2C. And you could offer something like a training package, a course, or even write a book. All really good things to do to diversify your income. Now, if you're ready to take the next step, there's two things I have to offer you. One is you can join our mastermind group, and that's going to be on a weekly basis for the next 30 days, where you can join us for a 1-hour session, and you can share your personal challenges. I will provide some feedback to you. Other people in the group are going to learn from that. That's an inexpensive way to move forward beyond this webinar. If you're not comfortable with that, if you don't want to join a group, but you want some one-on-one coaching, maybe there's a better time that works for you, maybe you have some specific questions and you're intimidated, you don't want to share them in a group session, then I'm happy to take on a limited number of coaching clients, and we can arrange to have that one-on-one coaching session set up on a weekly basis to move you forward. So I want to thank you for joining me today for this webinar, and I look forward to seeing you at a group session or one-on-one coaching soon.